Ever get a text message? You know, one of those thinking of you texts, but then you realize, wait, I haven't actually heard from this person in days.
Hmm.
It's like, what do those words even mean if they don't really match up with, like, what they're doing?
Right.
And that kind of gets at what we're diving into today, this whole idea actions speak louder than words, especially when we're talking about, love and relationships.
Right.
You shared some really interesting stuff about this. I'm excited to unpack it all.
Yeah.
So one of the sources, it really just comes right out and says it, you really know someone loves you by what they do, not just by like sweet talk,
Right.
but like, why is that so hard to actually believe sometimes?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
I think as humans, we're wired for connection, but we're also wired for these explanations,
Yeah.
especially when something feels a little bit off. So when someone says, hey, I care about you, but then their actions don't really line up with that, we can really go into overdrive trying to explain that behavior away,
Oh, yeah.
which leads us down some interesting mental paths, right?
Oh, tell me about it. In fact, the source actually mentions those big, sweeping gestures, like when someone will drop everything just to be there for you.
Yeah.
But then it also talks about how powerful consistency is.
Right.
Just those small, everyday things, like a quick text
Yeah, exactly.
or a phone call just to hear your voice. And that can actually mean so much more.
Yeah, it's like the difference between a fireworks show and then like a pilot light.
Hmm.
The fireworks are amazing, they're big and flashy, but they're gone so
A
fast.
lot of fleeting.
But the pilot light,
Yeah.
that's this constant quiet reassurance that the flame is still there, it's going.
Yeah.
And I think in relationships, those small, consistent actions, psychologists call them bids for connection. Those are what really nourish that bond.
Bids for connection.
Yeah.
I love that. Because it's so true. It's like when, my partner remembers to grab my favorite snack from the store.
Right.
And I didn't even ask. It's not like a huge gesture,
Right.
but it makes me feel like they see me, they get me, they care.
Yeah.
Just like that plant that needs to be watered regularly, right?
Exactly. It's that consistent care that helps it to thrive. And it's the same way with us. We blossom in these relationships where those small but really loving actions, they're just always there.
Yeah.
It's not about keeping score or anything,
Right.
but it is about recognizing that love, it's not just a feeling.
Hmm.
It's something that we actively do each and every day, and it's through those actions that it really shows.
Which brings me to a question for you and anyone listening. Have you ever been in a situation where what someone was saying to you just didn't line up with what they were actually doing? Like
Yeah.
you're hearing one thing,
Yeah.
but then you're like experiencing something totally different,
Right.
which is a tough spot to be in.
Absolutely. And I think, if any of this is resonating, it's really key to start to recognize those patterns.
Mm.
If someone is constantly putting other things ahead of you, or their actions are just not matching up with what they're saying time and time again,
Yeah.
that might be a good time to just take a step back.
Yeah.
Reevaluate a little bit. What does this relationship really mean to you?
And it's not about placing blame or anything. It's really about knowing your own worth. You deserve to be with someone who shows you they care,
Yeah,
not just tells you they do.
exactly. And I think that's so important. You are not responsible for fixing someone else's, emotional unavailability or convincing them to make you a priority.
Right. Right. Exactly.
It's on them.
So where does this all leave us then? I feel like it's funny how sometimes those simplest truths, actions speak louder than words. They can be the ones that we have the hardest time actually believing.
It's true. It's hard to really take those to heart sometimes, but once you do, it can be really freeing.
It's true.
So if you're finding yourself constantly questioning,
Mhm.
do they really care about me?
Yeah.
Do they really love me?
Yeah.
Take a look at what they're doing.
Actions?
Yeah, the answer might be right there.
They might just hold the answer.
Exactly.
So much to think about.
Yeah. And as you're thinking about it, just one final thought, I guess, to kind of leave you with. What are some small, consistent actions that maybe you could take or even ask for in your own relationships,
Yeah.
just as ways to build that trust and connection? Like we're saying, move beyond just the words and really get into what meaningful action looks like.
Mm.
Because I think that's how we make them stronger.
It really is. It's food for thought.